at 10, one of the world's busiest canals coming to a stop.
Every day it was getting that much worse.
The ship is now free, but our problems could just be starting.
Everything that we rely on in our homes or that we find in our workplace here really originated from a long ways away.
How the standstill in the Suez has stalled billions of dollars worth of worldwide trade.
The global ocean shipping system has been really very congested and quite messed up really since last fall. And then, to have the Ever Given, that just compounds the troubles.
And what it means for your wallet. The 10 on NECN starts now. Can you hear it? It's a sigh of relief heard all around the world as one of the largest container ships that blocked one of the busiest marine arteries for nearly a week was finally free. The Ever Given ship was refloated after it was pulled from the shore by tugboats during this morning's high tide. And all eyes from around the globe had been watching it very closely as it all unfolded in the Suez Canal. And while we may think of this as an issue that was halfway around the world, it is having an impact on all of us. The blockage was not just a maritime nightmare, but it was an economic one as well, clogging billions of dollars worth of goods from going through that very important passageway. And tonight, the canal ships is free, and ships are slowly starting their way through after being delayed. And economists say it could take weeks or even months to catch up with all the backup. And that is our starting point tonight. Now, you probably learned about the Suez Canal back in high school, but since then, chances are you probably haven't thought twice about it until this happened. And now this waterway has captured the attention of the world. So here's your quick high school refresher. The Suez Canal is a man-made canal in Egypt that connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. It's operated by Egypt, but state-owned by the Suez Canal Authority. The placement here really vital because it efficiently bridges trade between Europe, Asia, and Africa. See, without the Suez Canal, thousands of cargo ships just wouldn't be able to cut through, meaning, take a look at this. They'd have to go all the way around Africa, past the Cape of Good Hope. And that's not only a more dangerous route, it's a lot longer and a lot more expensive. This journey is about 15,000 miles, and that can add an extra 10 to 12 days to a journey, and it can cost up to $500,000 more. Whew, that's not necessarily worth it, right? So obviously the Suez Canal is the ultimate shortcut, and it's been a pretty reliable upgrade for maritime trade since it was constructed in the late 1800s. The entire length of it measures about 120 miles long. Sure beats that 15,000-mile alternative, huh? And it's responsible for about 13% of trade across the world. About 50 ships pass through the canal per day. So 13% of the world trade and 50 ships per day. Let's put those numbers into money. If we convert them into dollars, about $9 billion worth of goods pass through the waterway each day, translating to about $400 million an hour. Whew. So with a canal that is used to thousands of cargo ships passing through, how did the Ever Given even get stuck in the first place? Well, operators say the ship ran aground because of high winds from a sandstorm that happened last Tuesday. Now, we mentioned the Ever Given is a big ship, and by big, we mean incredibly massive. It carries about 20,000 containers of cargo and stretches more than 1,300 feet long. That is almost as long as the Empire State Building is tall. So, yeah, pretty big. So that's how this huge thing got stuck. So how was it freed? Well, for days, crews dredged around the ship's bow and stern, removing about 20,000 tons of sand and mud. Several tugboats worked to push the ship back into position within the canal's main current. And this morning's high tide, that helped a lot. It helped free it finally. Right now, the ship is being inspected for any damage that it may have suffered. And it's not the only ship really feeling the pain of all of this. Last year, more than 19,000 ships passed through the Suez Canal. And while the Ever Given was stuck, there were nearly 400 ships just waiting there trying to get on through. Take a look at this image from Marine Vessel Tracking. It clearly illustrates the backlog of ships waiting to get through the Suez Canal. We spoke with Dr. Stephen Flynn, a professor at Northeastern University, who also is a global supply expert. He compared this backlog to something that Bostonians know all too well.
Imagine that people in the metro Boston area that you have a massive backup of traffic in the Mass Pike, Route 93, and Route 95 all concurrently. And let's say after a big storm, and all the cars and trucks get stuck out there. And then you're like, okay, now get going. The process of clearing the backlog and getting things moving again, it's going to take some time.
Even with a bad internet connection, in Bostonian, we translate that directly to wicked bad traffic, right? And this backlog hits home as well in a lot more ways than one. Almost everything we use and need comes from pretty far away, especially high trade from Asia. So when we order goods online, for example, those things tend to take a few days to get to us. But with the blockage of the Suez Canal, that means billions of dollars worth of things like crude oil, livestock, the meat you like to eat, water, crops, dry goods, and even fuel have all stalled. Dr. Flynn says that while freeing the canal is a great thing, it's not the only problem these ships face.
And we created a real backlog of vessels. And it's not just that they have to get moving again, is they're all going to end up at the same ports that are already backed up. And because they can't offload the containers quickly onto trucks and trains because the capacity is exceeded, it's going to take that much more time to exchange, to get those containers back in circulation. So the people want to send something our way and say, where's my empty box that I can load up with goods? Everything from electronics to microchips to things that we need for a healthcare system. There's just not enough metal boxes to put them in.
Fascinating. Well, extra time makes sense, right? But how does that all translate to the impact on your wallet? Here's Dr. Flynn again.
There's going to be various shortages, some of which are going to be, a little frustrating for folks. Costs are certainly going to go up as well. Because what we have with a 24-hour or 48-hour disruption is not uncommon. And, between nature and so forth. And so the system can sort of slow down a little bit. But this went on for over 6 days.
So when we hear price jumps, a lot of people think gas prices. And according to Reuters, shipping rates for petroleum products have nearly doubled since the Ever Given's grounding. And experts say that while oil prices have been, tending upwards, you've probably seen it kind of getting closer and closer to $3 a gallon. It is really the increase because of COVID and all the COVID lockdowns worldwide. Speaking of COVID, the ship running aground in the Suez Canal has only exhausted an already strained shipping trade industry. When the ship first got stuck, there were serious concerns that it could drive up shortages of things like toilet paper, coffee, and furniture. Those problems we saw last March when COVID started, really having its toll. Remember this, the great TP shortage of 2020? No one wants to relive that again, right? I almost had to change brands. Oof. The horror. Now, since then, workforces at the ports and capacities have rebounded a bit, but not fully. And this incident had the potential to bury an already struggling supply chain. Here's Willy She, a Harvard Business School economist, to explain.
The global ocean shipping system has been really very congested and quite messed up, really since last fall. And then to have the Ever Given block, the primary trade lane from Europe, connecting Europe and the Far East, that just compounds the troubles.
So now that the Ever Given is free, will the crippled trading industry just bounce right back to normal? They are trying their best. As soon as it was cleared, more than 36 ships were let into pass. But, as Willy She says, it's going to take a lot more than that to get everything back up and running like normal. In fact, it could take months.
Well, it's probably going to be some number of weeks. What we were already seeing is a lot of port congestion just because there's been a surge of import traffic from Asia to Europe.
Now, the thought that just one ship, could cost the global economy $9 billion a day is pretty mind-boggling. But Willy She says as we push our infrastructure, this is the cost.
The whole system has been carefully balanced. We've taken it for granted. We're just trying to import more than the system has capacity for, right? So you see the ports backlog, ships already running behind schedule, and now you throw this monkey wrench into the works on one of the primary trade lanes, and it's just making a bad situation worse.
And while this is a huge headache for engineers and mariners, it was the relief apparently the internet really needed. People on social media have been having a field day with Suez Canal jokes. You've probably seen this photo, right? Of that little teeny tiny bulldozer trying to push that big old ship. Plenty of memes were made out of this, like anything really is possible, or me trying to solve all my problems. There's also a Suez Canal playlist on Spotify that someone made. It's genius. One of the songs, of course, Rolling in the Deep. Yep. You've been there, right? And a New York man actually made a video game inspired by the Ever Given. You play alone as the lone bulldozer, tasked with moving the ship. And of course, there's no real way to win. Yep. The jokes just don't stop. Gotta love the internet. But thankfully, this situation has been resolved, and hopefully it's behind us now. Let's move on to weather, because we have to bring in meteorologist Chris Glahn.